Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara Designs, and today I have this really pretty lace and floral card to share with you. So let's jump right in. So originally I did think that I was going to make 2 cards, so you're going to see me cut 2 panels, but in the end I only made 1, and I'll tell you why when we get in a little further. So I ended up cutting my panel down to be, I would say, just shy of 1/4 inch. I wanted a little white border all the way around, not a large one. So and there's no black mat for this card, shocking, I know. And I'm going to bring in the Tim Holtz Vault Lace 3D embossing folder. This only came out, I want to say a few weeks ago. This is my first time using it, and wow, it's so pretty. If you like delicate lacy embossing folders, this is the one for you because it is stunning. Here I couldn't decide what side I liked, the front or the back, so I end up changing my mind a few times later, but I did end up using kind of the I don't actually even, well, you'll see it when we get there, so I don't know what side to tell you it is. And then I brought in the Tim Holtz Colourize Bloom die. Now this is an older die. I don't know if it's still available. It's new to me. I actually only recently picked it up because it was on Amazon for sale, and I thought it was really pretty, so I picked it up. But it is one of those dies that it has multiple pieces, and some of the pieces are very small. So don't do what I'm doing. Ideally, if you know your color palette, I didn't do it this way because I didn't know how the pieces needed to go together. I'd never done this one before, right? I'd never cut it or used it. So I wasn't totally sure how everything needed to go together. And because of that, I kind of, I didn't know what to color anything. I'm going to ink blend on them just because that's like my favorite way to add color. But if you knew what colors you wanted everything to be, you could easily, blend the colors first and then die cut them. Because I am going to end up ripping one of my leaves. It doesn't really matter. I just glue it back on later. But that is something that happens because I didn't have it blended beforehand. So because some of these pieces are very delicate, I did end up ripping them a little bit, or I bent them while I was trying to ink blend on them. So here I ripped that leaf off. It doesn't really matter. It's paper. You can just put it back together. Not a big deal. But if you knew how to put them together and you knew what colors you wanted, I would suggest doing the colors first. But I didn't. So we're going to go the way that I'm going. So for my leaves, because there's 2 sets of leaves in the die set, I used the more pointy ones you can see here. And for my leaves, I used Mowed Lawn, Bundled Sage, and Shabby Shutters. I kind of wanted a bit of a muted green color. So because these layer up, the Mowed Lawn, which is that brighter green, is actually on the bottom, and you don't see much of it other than the stems. So I knew that, layering up my colors were going to give me kind of the muted colors on top. And I'm also trying really hard to use Oxide colors I don't use very often. If you've been with my channel any length of time, you know that I am generally drawn to bright, vibrant colors. They just make me really happy. But there are so many other colors out there that are just as beautiful. I don't give them as much of a chance. So I'm trying to use different colors and, just play with shades of things and just see what happens. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a card. It's not the end of the world if I don't love the color palette that I've chosen. Although I have yet to find a color palette that I really don't like. So I'm pretty drawn to all the Oxide colors. I generally don't use much of the browns. That kind of is my exception. I don't generally lean towards brown, but I think that pretty much all the Oxides can go together and be beautiful, just not necessarily blended together, just because they might be brown. But I think that these leaves turned out really neat. But because I'm blending, you could, of course, do any color you want to here. You're going to see that the branch of my leaves is this vibrant green, and then we kind of have a more muted green on top, and I think it looks kind of neat. I love this card, but I'm going to admit that putting together the pieces is a little bit tedious, which isn't a big deal as long as you have the time for it. because this is the first time I've ever used this die, I didn't know how the flower needed to go together. The leaves are pretty straightforward, but I didn't know anything else. So because of that, I had to noodle a bit, and I was a little ambitious thinking that I was going to make 2 cards because I didn't cut enough stuff to start with, right? Maybe if I had cut more pieces, it would have been a little more straightforward, but I didn't. So like ideally, when I do a layout, I like to have 2 larger elements. So that would be your bigger flowers, and I cut 2, but if I want 2 and I want to make 2 cards, then obviously I need 4. And I didn't cut that. I would want probably ideally at least 2 leaves per card. Again, I didn't cut that. And then with these little blooms, I thought that I was going to do 1 per card. So these I did actually cut the right amount. But in the end, I just opted to use it on the 1 card and just kind of focus more on building the layers rather than being worried about, making multiple cards. And this is the first time in a long time that I have not made multiple cards. So it was kind of just fun to sit there and noodle with 1 card. For the little blooms, you see me use Mowed lawn for the stem because I want the stems to match. And then for my actual floral colors, I went with milled lavender, Victorian velvet, and seedless preserves. And then the center I'm going to do in wild honey because I wanted kind of a rich yellow center, yellowy brown center, because again, I'm trying to use colors I don't normally go towards. So I thought that would be a lot of fun. So Seedless Preserves is going to be my base color. So like Mowed Lawn, it's kind of the underneath color. You don't end up with as much of it because it is the more vibrant color. And then I kind of tried to layer up a little bit more muted colors on top of that just to see what I would get mostly. I mean, honestly, I tend to reach for different colors. And so it was both really fun and just a touch frustrating in as much as I had no idea what the heck I was trying to build. And some of these pieces are quite small. So when I was ink blending them, you saw me using my ink blending tool, but I had to grab my craft pick to hold them in place so that I could add the ink onto them because there's no way I could hold some of the smaller pieces in place and ink blend on them without, the piece just kind of ending up under the foam. So it worked. I mean, I think that I built a really pretty card. I love how this card came together. I think that I was being a little unrealistic in thinking that I could noodle it and, make multiples of it. Because this did take me far longer than most cards end up taking me to make. So now that that's a big deal, I love to create. It's just one of those things where, I don't have tons and tons of time to spend on just one project. So here I've kind of started to understand what I'm up to. So I've kind of segregated off the pieces. And again, honestly, I just chose pieces that I wanted to be different colors. So you can see the base, I did it in Seedless Preserves. And thankfully, it does have, the indents. It scores those pieces so that you can see what color they need to be, where they need to lay. And then it's up to you as to what color you want to make them. So then I did Victorian Velvet, which is what you see me adding here. And then my lightest shade will be that milled lavender. But honestly, I'm going to have like different pieces on top of, the same color just because I wasn't totally sure how it went together. I did know like the bigger pieces go together. You can see them. But it was all these tiny little pieces that I had no idea. And thankfully, you have images on the packaging. That helps me a lot. Like I'll have the packaging sitting beside me with a newer die set or even a die set I just haven't used in a little while if I'm not sure how it goes together. And it just sits beside me and then I can just reference it anytime I need to. And Tim Holtz does great pictures of each layer in a different color. And they're labeled. So on the back of the dies, it says, like pink layer 1, pink layer 2, just so you can kind of tell, what shades on the image he's working with. So it is very, very helpful that way. But I mean, I see like at this point, I didn't know where all these little pieces went. So I kind of just colored them whatever color I wanted to color them and went for that. And I think it turned out pretty cool. I think this card ended up being very elegant. And because I didn't know what I would use it for, I chose not to add a sentiment to it just because I didn't know what it needed to be. I think it could lend itself towards quite a few different options. So I think you could, and you don't have to have a sentiment on the front. we do, I think, just because it's, the first thing the person sees. So it's like, hey, this is obviously a birthday card, or this is obviously a, thinking of you card, or whatever. But you don't have to. You can just write the message on the inside and the person's going to know what's up, right? So I chose to leave this one sentimentless so that I had the option to use it for whatever felt right with it, because it is very, very pretty. So you can see here, this is quite sped up, but you see me pause every once in a while when I have a really small piece. It's because I'm referencing the package. It's literally just sitting off to the left of me. And I'm just trying to figure out where the piece is supposed to be. I think that this first centerpiece should have gone underneath one of the other layers, but of course I didn't know that. So I did just gently lift up that one layer and then kind of stuck it down around those other layers. And then when I built the second flower, I knew, so I could just kind of do that. But I'm just guessing here because I wasn't totally sure where any of this belonged. But I think it turned out really cute. I like these kind of abstract flowers. Like, they're just really fun. Like, you can see what it is. So really, you can use literally any color and it still reads as a flower, which I love. It's so fun. And then, of course, because it's me, I did flick on a little bit of Perfect Pearls. I just felt like it added something special to the card. I don't know. It's just a touch of shimmer and shine on the elements. And I think that adds something and just makes it really pretty. And now I'm just going to kind of build the card. You're going to see that I lay everything out how I want it, and then I kind of lift pieces off and add a little bit of glue. At this point, this bottle of Nuvo is almost empty, so getting glue out of it is a bit of a interesting thing, but it does work out okay. And I am going to hold this panel down to the card front. It took a minute to get it to kind of adhere because I chose to use, I don't know, I guess this is in the innie part of the embossing folder. And I loved how that looked. So I kind of went with that piece. But here I've worked with how I want the pieces to all lay out. And then I just lifted off the large flowers and started adhering everything back in where I kind of wanted it to go. And you'll see, I'll even put the flowers back down because I've shifted things around to make sure that that's still where I want everything to sit. So there's no right or wrong here. And honestly, arranging things takes a while. It takes me a fair amount of time, and I do it, well, not super, super often. I don't think that I do cards too often that have a lot of different die cuts, but, it just takes a little practice. And even then, I'll pull pieces out, I'll put pieces back. I wasn't going to put that second set of buds in there, but then I was like, this looks really pretty, so let's add it. And why not? I originally thought I might put the extra set of buds just on the inside of the card. I think it would have been super cute just in the base of the card, and you kind of opened it and you had this little sprig of the buds, but I did opt to just put it on the front of the card because I thought that would also be super cute. So I love how this card came together. I hope you guys aren't bummed that I only did one card. I mean, I haven't done just one card in a really long time. I don't even remember the last time that I did a single card, because lately I've been doing multiples, just I think because people like to see them, and that gives me that opportunity to do different colors or, play with different ideas. But yeah, this turned out so, so pretty. And because it's me and I could not resist, I did go in and add a couple of pearls just around the design. I feel like that lace background and the florals just look super, super elegant, and I love how they turned out. So I did add a few pearls around the design, but I am so excited about how this card turned out. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and I'm trying to make it up on my subscriber count. My original goal for the year was 25,000, but if I could get to 15, I would be incredibly excited. So if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you. Thank you guys so, so much, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.